the blowing bubbles, pretty bubbles in the air.
Psycho's back. Stuart Pearce has rejoined the West Ham coaching staff. David Moyes has finally got what he's wanted since returning to the club, and Stuart Pearce is back on the coaching staff, which personally I think that can only mean good things for West Ham. He is exactly the sort of mentality we need when David Moyes is typically a little bit soft and not the most motivational character. Someone like Stuart Pearce, when they need a real kick in and they need a bit of a nudge, he's exactly the sort of person that we need in and around the club to G players up and trying to give them a bit of motivation and give them that bit of passion. He's a man who just can't stay away from the club. Obviously, was a player for West Ham. I always remember back to the time where he broke his leg and he wanted to carry on and he was kind of forced off the pitch, which just shows what sort of mentality the man's got. He's just a phenomenal character, someone that I think is a brilliant character to have around the club. And I'm really looking forward to him being back. And I think it's going to mean good things for West Ham. And it almost shows that the board are maybe giving a little bit of confidence to David Moyes now. They were giving him 6 months to try and show that he deserves a longer term contract. And I think the board were right in holding off before they did that. But it's going to be interesting now. I don't think David Moyes is going to have any excuses anymore. I think the board are going to give him the personnel that he needs to be able to do his job to the best of his ability. Stuart Pearce has come in, and X has also confirmed that a fitness coach that he had at Everton is also coming in as well. So it seems like David Moyes is trying to put that if you don't run, you don't play mentality into the club again and get us nice and fit. And I think that's a good thing. I haven't seen our fitness levels be anywhere near where they need to be. So the fact that that's something that he's really focusing on, getting everybody fit, getting someone in who understands the club, who knows the club, knows what West Ham's all about, and also someone who's just a real contrast to him, to be honest. I think that's how you need staff set up. You need different personalities and different contrasts. You can't have too many people the same. And I think Stuart Pearce brings a real different dynamic to the West Ham coaching staff. And I think it is a real positive. And then having a little further look at what's going on there now and the fact that they've allowed him to bring Stuart Pearce in. And also the fact that the Diop stories come out this morning that Diop could be up for sale and he's a player that we may be prepared to let leave, almost says to me that maybe the board are listening to David Moyes and listening to the fact that he wants to bring in some new personnel, he wants to bring in some new faces, and he wants to do some activity in the transfer market. And the board are looking at what assets they've got that they can cash in to allow Moyes to bring in the players that he's highlighted. And Diop is certainly someone who doesn't have any monies owed against his name still. He's someone that will command a profit because I think some of the players who we signed recently who we could sell are certainly not going to be worth what we paid for them. So if you're looking at someone who, one, will raise a profit, you will be able to get good money for because of his age and because of his nationality, Diop seems to be a perfect fit. So I guess there's no smoke without fire. Why would this story have come out of nowhere? There are some ridiculous stories floating around at the moment, and we all know what the media are like when transfer windows are open. Some of them are absolutely ridiculous. So you have to be careful what you believe. But everything just seems to ring a little bit true around this one for me. And I can see Diop leaving to allow Moyes to bring in the players that he's looking for. The only thing that is a little bit suspect around it is the fact that he doesn't really like Balbuena, and he showed last year that he hasn't got much confidence in him. So because of that fact, it may be, maybe the story isn't totally truthful. But I think if the club had turned around to David Moyes and said, you've got to go and sell someone, the man that we think we can highlight of selling for a good profit and raising the funds that you require is Diop, then I think Moyes may think, well, I'd rather those players and bring those players in than to keep Diop in the side. And he is a little bit hot and cold. I actually think he's a really good defender. I actually would be a little bit sad to see him go, to be honest, because I think he was building a good partnership with with Ogbonna. But I just think this could be some signs that the board are really going to back David Moyes into next season. And they are going to give him the tools that he needs to be able to do his job. I don't think David Moyes will have any excuses anymore. It almost seemed like they were leaving him to sort of be hung out to dry a little bit, and it was an easy excuse for them. And they could quite easily turn around and say, well, you weren't cutting it and see you later. But now I think he's been given, or he's going to be given, everything that he needs to do his job. And I don't think he'll have any excuses. And it's going to be an interesting time for West Ham now. I think these are positive moves. And whether or not you believe David Moyes is the right manager for West Ham or not, I still think we should give him the tools that he needs to be able to hit the ground running, if possible, at the beginning of the season. I think the early form for us last season, in the end, is what saved us. So we want to get off to a good start. And we want to sort of carry on a little bit of that momentum and that positivity that we left off from last season. And I don't see any reason why we won't be able to do that now. So hopeful that, maybe David Moyes, we all know what I think about him. I don't think he's our long-term manager. But with that sort of coaching staff around him, a real emphasis on fitness, a real focus on bringing in some players that he's highlighted that I think he needs, and good young talent, maybe things won't work out too bad. So watch this space.